It has been decades, and the National Hockey League has not seen a coach since who had such an influence on hockey as Scotty Bowman. The league changed over the years, with new stars and entire dynasties emerging, yet very few managed to win again and again with such regularity. Bowman won 9 Stanley Cups as a head coach, which remains a record in National Hockey League history to this day. He is actually the only coach in National Hockey League history to win the Stanley Cup with 3 different teams. Just imagine that. Teams come and go, players rotate, generations change, but Bowman always somehow managed to find a way to win. No matter which team's bench he stood behind, his name gradually became synonymous with success. Yet that is precisely why many people back then were asking a simple question: why him? When Bowman entered the world of professional hockey, he was neither a celebrity nor a big name. On the contrary, he was an unassuming man who had only one thing: a huge obsession with hockey. And everyone who met him in person quickly understood that Bowman was not just an ordinary coach. Yet, his path to the very top was not paved with glory from the start, but was bought with a very painful personal tragedy, which, in a single moment, took away his great dream and forced him to think about hockey in a way no one in North America had dared to before. So, how did he actually get into coaching? What was behind his incredible success? And how did an unassuming man become the most successful coach in NHL history? We will look at all of that in today's video, but to truly understand his success, we must go back to the very beginning, to Verdun, in the Canadian province of Quebec, where William Scott Bowman was born on September 18, 1933. Young Scotty grew up in a Montreal suburb in a tough working-class environment where hockey was almost like a religion. On the ice, he was a smart and very aggressive left-winger. He read the game better than the others, and everything pointed to him one day wearing a Montreal Canadiens jersey. But then came a moment that changed everything. In March 1952, during a junior game, he was rushing toward the net at high speed when a defenseman unfortunately struck him in the head with his stick. The impact was so severe that it caused a serious skull injury that essentially ended his playing career, as the injury was too severe and a return to the top was out of the question. Instead of quitting hockey entirely, he decided otherwise. He began studying the game in detail, gradually wanting to master it from the bench. He watched every movement on the ice with such intense focus that to others, it almost looked like an obsession. Bowman's coaching journey began with youth teams in Montreal, and even then, it was clear he had something extra. He knew how to read opponents, find weaknesses, and see things that others missed. People from the Canadiens soon noticed this and put him in charge of their farm team so he could continue developing his style. The big breakthrough came in 1967 when the NHL expanded and Bowman headed to the new St. Louis Blues team as an assistant. It did not take long for him to become head coach, and right from the start, he shocked the league. During his first 3 seasons, he led the Blues to the Stanley Cup final 3 times with a team that almost no one took seriously. Yes, he lost the finals every time and did not win a single game, but it was still clear that Bowman could build a dangerous team out of average players that could compete with anyone. It was here that he confirmed one thing: success is not just about talent, it is about the system, discipline, and the ability to react to what is happening right during the games. At the same time, however, the first problems with the club's management began to appear. Bowman wanted more control over the team, which the owners would not give him, and so he left, a return home to Montreal, where a challenge awaited him that would change history. In 1971, Scotty Bowman returned to Montreal, this time as head coach of the Canadiens. The club was undergoing changes, and the pressure was immense. Here, only victory was accepted. But Bowman was not afraid of that. He began building a team that was fast, smart, and perfectly organized. He had stars around him like Guy Lafleur, Ken Dryden, or Larry Robinson, but the key was that he managed to turn them into one perfectly functioning unit. The peak came in the 1976 to 1977 season when Montreal collected 132 points and lost only 8 games out of 80. That is a record that no one has broken to this day. Bowman was also a master tactician. He reacted perfectly to opponents during the game. When the top line was struggling, he immediately sent out a defensive unit led by Bob Gainey. Scotty declared him the best defensive forward he had ever seen. The 1977 final against the Boston Bruins was total dominance, a 4-0 series win, and Lafleur took home the Most Valuable Player award. In 8 years in Montreal, Bowman won 5 Stanley Cups, 4 in a row between 1976 and 1979, and it was here that he definitively built his reputation as one of the best coaches in hockey history. But his style was not easy for the players at all. Scotty kept his distance. He did not talk to them much, and in the locker room, that created quite a tense atmosphere. Players often did not know where they stood, and that is exactly what forced them to go full out every shift. But Bowman was not afraid to bench even his biggest stars if they did not follow his instructions. It was a kind of psychological game. He believed that once a player felt too comfortable, they would start to slack off, and he wanted the exact opposite. Maximum focus and performance. Despite all the success, however, relations with the Canadiens' management began to deteriorate, mainly due to disputes over who had more say in building the team. In 1979, a shock came. Bowman quit. Fans did not really understand, but he felt he needed a change, a new challenge, and above all, more control over how the whole team functioned. After leaving Montreal, Scotty accepted an offer from the Buffalo Sabres. He got exactly what he wanted. He was both coach and general manager, so he had full control over the team. But this time, it was not that simple. Although Buffalo regularly made the playoffs and even won the division in its first season, it was not enough for the Stanley Cup. And that is where it became clear that building a winning team from scratch is a completely different challenge than maintaining a well-oiled machine in Montreal. It was simply too much for him, so in 1987, he decided to quit. He stopped coaching and moved to television as an analyst for a few years. Paradoxically, it helped him a lot. He had time to look at hockey from a different angle, draw new inspiration, and watch where the game was heading. At that time, many people thought it was over, that his era was gone. But Bowman had not disappeared. He was just waiting for the right opportunity to return. The real chance came in the early 90s when Scotty headed to the Pittsburgh Penguins, at first just as someone to help with player development and support the team around Mario Lemieux, but then came an unexpected turning point. Coach Bob Johnson fell seriously ill and passed away in 1991, and suddenly, Bowman found himself back on the bench. The team had huge talent, but was not doing well mentally. After such a loss, there was a risk that everything would fall apart. Along with Lemieux, there was also young Jaromir Jagr, but it was necessary to straighten it all out and give it clear order, and that is exactly what Bowman did. He managed to quickly calm the team down, and as early as 1992, he defended the Stanley Cup with the Penguins. With that, he showed his style works for a new generation of stars, not just on offense, but defensively as well. Even so, he did not stay in Pittsburgh for long. Disagreements arose again, and in 1993, he accepted another great challenge. The Detroit Red Wings, a team with a huge history, had been waiting for the Stanley Cup for 42 years, and the fans were starting to lose patience. In Detroit, a team full of talent but without results awaited Bowman. Players like Steve Yzerman had the quality, but in the playoffs, it regularly ended in disappointment, especially against tough opponents. Bowman wanted to change that. He began instilling a mentality in the team that in the playoffs, it is not pretty plays that decide games, but rather hard work, discipline, and a willingness to sacrifice for the team. And then came one of his most brilliant moves. He created the legendary Russian Five: Fedorov, Larionov, Fedosov, Kozlov, Konstantinov. Instead of forcing them into a classic style, he adapted the system to their game. Puck possession, passing, creativity, and it paid off. In 1997, the Red Wings swept the Flyers in the finals and won the Stanley Cup after 42 years. Bowman rewrote history with that. He was the first coach to win a title with 3 different teams. Just 1 year later, he successfully defended his title, and it meant even more. Shortly before that, Vladimir Konstantinov suffered a serious car accident, which affected the whole team. Bowman showed a different side then. He was not just a tough coach, but also a pillar of support for his players in a difficult moment. And even so, he managed to keep the team at the top. The final and probably most brilliant chapter came at the beginning of the new millennium. The Red Wings built a team back then that was called a dream team. The 2001-2002 season, an incredible roster. In one locker room played guys like Dominik Hasek, Hull, or Lidstrom. Bowman did not have to teach them hockey. His task was different: to manage all those big names and get them on the same page, and he managed it perfectly. Detroit went all the way to the Stanley Cup, and Bowman won his 9th title as head coach. And then came the moment that brought it all to a close. Right after the final against Carolina, he skated onto the ice amidst the celebrations and announced his retirement. He left at the very top, exactly when he was still the best. The story of Scotty Bowman is not just about hockey, his obsession with perfection, about discipline, and about how far a person can go when they never stop looking for an edge over others. Over his career, he won an incredible 9 Stanley Cups as head coach and added over 1,200 wins, another record that makes him the absolute #1 among coaches. But perhaps even more important is something else. He managed to win in different eras, with different teams, and with different styles of hockey. He always adapted, he always found a way. And that's why Scotty Bowman isn't just a legend. He's the standard by which coaches will be judged for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, I would be very happy if you subscribed and checked out the other video you see on your screen right now. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye.